question is, have you ever wondered, why humans have to be told what to eat, when to eat, and how much to eat? And everyone else seems to be sorted. They don't need any lectures to tell them what you are supposed to eat, kitna khana hai, kya karna hai. So that is not required. So what the hell is wrong with us? Itne alag kyun hai hum? Well, the problem is today we eat for convenience, comfort, and pleasure. We don't eat for our survival. And that is why we are suffering and dying, both with less and excess. So I am really thankful to be invited for this talk and given this opportunity to talk about the right diet to not die yet. Now, we all know that there are multiple diets that are popular around the world. Various types of diets, and everyone says that we are the best. I have this study, I have that study. ये चालू रहता है. And there's a huge difference. You will see somebody saying you have to have only animal products, that is the best for you. Other people will say you have to have only plant diet, that is the best for you. There's a huge difference. So why is this confusion? So let me tell you, studies, जो evidence रहता है, are a lot like bikinis. You know why? Because they reveal a lot, but they hide the essentials. So we cannot take studies just on the face of it. We have to study the studies and see what is the real conclusion that they are drawing. And if you want to have the best evidence to find the best diet for an individual, उसमें क्या करना चाहिए? We have to have a randomized control trial with a large group of people with matching baseline health conditions. They need to follow the exact recommended diet with same activity and stress levels and environmental conditions for years together, which requires a lot of funds. Now, to get all this thing done is next to impossible. So then how do we proceed? So instead, let us think outside the box and twist the question a bit. So instead of asking which is the best diet for survival of an individual, what if we ask what is the best diet for survival of our species itself? Now, what do you mean by survival of species? Are humans part of an endangered species? Is that so? Well, if you see what is threatening our species, you will see that we are faced with problems of greenhouse gas emissions, climate change, water shortage, food shortage, land shortage, air pollution, water pollution, deforestation, ocean damage, species loss, pandemics. We have just been out of COVID. Wars are happening everywhere. Malnutrition, obesity, lifestyle diseases. All these are threatening human species. Now, is there any common link between all these issues, all these problems? What if I tell you the common link is our diet? That is the importance of a diet, and that is what I'm going to talk to you about today. Well, if you see 10,000 years ago, humans were hunters and gatherers, as we used to call them. And that was, we used to eat and survive on whatever we could find. Then we learned agriculture. How did that change everything? From whatever we could find, now we had the option to eat whatever we wished for. Okay. And in agriculture, there were two types of agriculture. One is a plant agriculture, where we grow specific crops for their direct consumption. The other is animal agriculture, where we grow specific animals. These are not naturally born animals. We are grown under conditions suitable for us for their direct or indirect consumption. These are known as livestock animals, and they provide us with meat, fish, eggs, and milk. Now, if you see 10,000 years ago, if you look at all the mammals on the planet, okay, excluding humans, you see, look at all these mammals which are there on the land and in the sea, all of them were living in the wild. 10,000 years ago, there were no livestock animals. Humans were not keeping animals for consumption. Today, if you see, the situation has changed. You would not believe it, but the wild animals have reduced to just 6%. 94% of the animals, the mammals on the planet, are livestock animals. Even the birds we have not spared. 71% of the birds on this planet are chicken. So what you would say, in nature, animals eat other animals. Similarly, we are also eating other animals. The problem is that if you look at the natural food pyramid, this is how it looks like, right? what happens is all these animals are naturally born. They live in the wild. The prey has a fair chance to escape from its predator. The predators will start dying out if the prey numbers fall, which maintains a natural balance of population. If you look at the human pyramid, what has happened? That we have increased in numbers. The predator, top predator is growing. We are more than 8 billion of us now. So ideally, the prey number should go on reducing and our population also should get restricted. But what has happened is we are growing specific animals who are all artificially born. They live in captivity. They have a zero chance of escaping. So 8 billion of us are consuming more than 100 billion animals every year just on land. We are growing our own prey. But the problem is the resources are the same. They are not increasing. As a result, there is no balance left anymore. It's more than a human population problem. It is a humans eating animals population problem. And it is putting tremendous strain on our resources. How? So if you compare an animal diet versus a plant-based diet, you will see that a meat diet requires 5 times more water, 7 times more greenhouse gases are emitted, 11 times more fossil fuel is consumed, and 14 times more land is needed to provide for this diet. And where does all this land come from? As I'm speaking, the Amazon forest are the lungs of our planet. The size of 3 football fields is getting cut every single minute. We are not even aware of this. And 91% of this is to provide for animal needs. So animal agriculture is the biggest cause of deforestation. If you look at the food that we get, the land needed per kg of food is way more for animal products than for plant products. And deforestation, which is going on, also causes biodiversity loss. In fact, naturally, 3 species are expected to go extinct every year. Currently, the rate of extinction is 3 species every hour. Nearly 10,000 times what is naturally expected. When this happens, it is known as a mass extinction. The last mass extinction was when dinosaurs were wiped out, and we are heading towards this thanks to our own activities. When we talk of water, by 2050, it is predicted that 70% of the world's population will be living in water-stressed areas. We already know what is happening during summers in our country. If you ask somebody, how do you save water? Many suggestions are given. You'll say, put sensors on water taps, don't use shower much, don't use your pipes, turn off the taps wherever possible, use high efficiency toilets. A lot of things are suggested. And excellent. All these will help you save 1,000 liters every day. But you eat one hamburger and you have consumed 2,400 liters of water. That is the water footprint that goes into making of that burger. Now, this much water is equivalent to flushing the toilet for 6 months or taking a shower for 2 months. And the reason is because if we look at our own water footprint, the household activities contribute very less. 70 to 80% of the water footprint comes from the food that we eat. And if you look, meat and dairy have the highest water consumption compared to plant food. In fact, for 1 kg of beef, the amount of water which is required, one person can drink for 15 years. If you look at the food, every day, 1 billion people are sleeping hungry, 10,000 children are dying of starvation, yet 41% of the world's cereal harvest is fed to farmed animals. We are growing enough food, but instead of feeding humans, we are feeding the animals from whom few humans are feeding. In fact, if you give 100 beans to a cow, only 2 beans will reach the human stomach. You know why? If you look at this pyramid, at every level you see here, energy is getting lost. As you go higher and higher, the amount of energy that is obtained is less and less. If you look at this, milk, eggs, poultry, pork, mutton, beef, everywhere energy is getting wasted. Proteins are getting wasted. Instead of having proteins from the animals, if we have them directly from the plants, we will be saving a lot of proteins and energy. When we talk of waste, these animals also create waste. 130 times more waste is created by these animals than what humans create. 40,000 kgs are excreted every second by the animals. This is enough to cover the entire Mumbai in just 2 days. But why don't we see all this? Because all of this is dumped into the oceans and it is creating dead zones across the oceans. What are dead zones? Low oxygen areas which no longer support marine life. So beautiful gardens of corals and sponges are now being reduced to lifeless plains. Not just that, we are also polluting our oceans. You know what this is? This is known as the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. Now, there are 5 such garbage patches in the Pacific Ocean filled with plastic floating around. The size of this single patch is more than half the size of India. That is the amount of pollution which is happening. Because it is in the middle of Pacific, we are not aware of it. But how do we keep plastic out of the oceans? What are we told? No plastic bags, no plastic straws, no plastic cups. Excellent. This is all going to help us. But what we are not told that 80% of the plastic in these garbage patches is fishing gear. This is fishing gear which is discarded once it is damaged. And this is known as ghost gear. It's one of the most deadly form of marine plastic debris. It impacts seabirds, marine mammals, and sea turtles who get caught and they die. Then is microplastics. These are small, fine, degraded plastic materials which are now also being found inside our bodies and are known to give rise to multiple issues. And one of the major contributor is seafood. That is where it is coming from, other than the plastic bottles. 3 trillion fish are killed every year. Now, when we talk of these numbers, we cannot estimate how big these numbers are. This is 3 trillion. After 4-5 zeros, our mind is not able to understand how big this number is. So let me break it down for you. If you start counting from 1 to 3 trillion, make a guess in your mind how much time would you think it will take you? The answer is 100,000 years. That's 1,400 of your lifetimes. If you just keep counting the fish, you would take that much time. If you start walking, 3 trillion steps will take you 50,000 trips around the earth. It can take you 3,000 times to the moon and back. It can take you 8 times to the sun and back. That is the amount of fish we are killing every year. 90% of the world's marine fish stocks are now fully exploited, overexploited, or they are depleted. It is predicted that at this rate, we will have fishless oceans by 2048. And if the oceans die, then we die. Animal agriculture is the leading cause of ocean dead zones, water pollution, and species extinction. Greenhouse gases. Everybody is talking about carbon dioxide, but these microbes break down food in their stomach and release methane. Their excreta releases nitrous oxide. These are gases which are 25 to 300 times more damaging than carbon dioxide. If we look at the top emitters, the countries which are top emitters of greenhouse gases, if you imagine a country where only livestock animals are kept, okay, of all the world, you put livestock animals together and form a country, that country will rank number 2 in emissions. So much emissions are coming from livestock. We are told that turn to electric vehicles so that we can save the planet. But if you put all modes of transportation together, cars, trucks, trains, ships, aeroplanes, still the emissions are less than what cows are releasing. No wonder the meat and dairy have a far more greenhouse gas emissions compared to plant-based products. In fact, 1 kg of beef emits so much emissions that equivalent to driving a car for 26,000 kilometers. And all this is leading to global warming and climate change. In fact, just 2 to 3 days back, Denmark has become the first country to implement a tax on livestock. For every cow that a livestock farmer owns, he'll have to pay a tax. So finally, governments are taking action against the powerful and meat dairy industry who's not allowing all this to happen. And these are toxic gases which cause air pollution and lead to multiple illnesses in our body. So if you look at the animal agriculture impact so far, we have seen that it leads to climate change, water shortage, food shortage, land shortage, air pollution, water pollution, deforestation. All these things are happening. What about our health? Well, we just came out of COVID, isn't it? And we blame China for it. We call it the China virus. But if you look at all the epidemics in the past, you will see that they're linked in some way to animal farming. Why is that? Well, because we crowd millions of animals together, we raise them in filthy conditions, and we pump them with antibiotics. Now, as doctors, we are taught that antibiotics should be judiciously used, otherwise it will lead to resistance. What we don't know that 80% of all antibiotics are used on factory farm animals with no accountability. And these are not just random old antibiotics. These are antibiotics which we use still in humans as well. So when a single organism becomes resistant, it multiplies in these crowded animals and becomes a superbug. And when these bugs reach our human body, they lead to zoonotic diseases responsible for millions of deaths every year. In fact, 75% of emerging infectious diseases originate in animals. We are waiting for the next pandemic to hit us, and it is likely to come from one of the factory farms. We also have the triple burden of malnutrition, undernutrition, obesity, and micronutrient deficiency. Now, this was a wonderful paper which was published just Jan this year, which studied the food system transformation. Okay, what it told us that if you follow the current diet that we are following, by 2050 we will have millions of underweight people and a huge increase in the obesity rates, and global warming will be out of control. But they gave us hope. The paper said that if we change our diet, then we can eradicate malnutrition, we can reverse obesity rates, and we can restrict the global warming. And what was this diet change? They said there's a strong consensus that there has to be a universal increase in whole grains, fruits, vegetables, and nuts, less consumption of ultra processed foods, animal source food significantly reduced. Okay, that is basically they're asking us to shift to a whole foods plant-based diet. This is the current animal product intake, which is going up. But what they suggested is this is what it should happen. It has to start reducing. This, the lower red lines you see below, is the current intake of fruits, nuts, vegetables, and legumes. It's hardly increasing. And this is what is supposed to happen. We are supposed to consume more of these. We're not doing that. But if we do this, what are the results expected? Global obesity, which is going in this direction, will start coming down. Premature mortality because of all these lifestyle diseases that you are facing is going on the rise, but it can be brought down by the change of food system. And they looked at the financial viability also. And they said that the current food systems are destroying more than they create. They're borrowing from the future for profits of today. Nobody is thinking of the future. People just want money today. And the harm is expected to be more than 10 trillion US dollars every year. In reality, unfortunately, the meat consumption is increasing. Meat and milk demand is likely to double by 2050. So let's think out of the box again and think practically. We know that the land surface is covered nearly 30% with land, out of which 76% is habitable land. In this, 45% of land is used by agriculture. Now, in this, the animal agriculture occupies 80% of this land. Only 16% is for plant agriculture. Now, from this 80% of agricultural land, the world is getting only 17% of its calories. Majority of the calories are coming from that small amount of land dedicated to plant agriculture. This 80% means it is 27% of the total land mass of this planet is gone for animal agriculture. In comparison, if you put all human infrastructure together, cities, towns, villages, roads, it is only 1% land occupied. So much land is going there. And what is happening is meat and milk demand is going to get doubled. Okay, what happens? So instead of 17%, if 34% of calories are coming from these products, then the land required will be much more. Will require 54% of total land mark. You know what that means? This will lead to territory wars. People will start fighting for land, and all the forests will have to be destroyed. And if forests are not left, it means we are extinct. So besides all these problems that we saw, animal agriculture also leads to pandemics, wars, malnutrition, lifestyle diseases, and obesity. So is there a common link? It's meat, fish, eggs, and milk. Well, some will say milk, what is wrong with that? What is wrong with milk? Well, besides all health-related issues that it can cause, I would again like to think outside the box. We have to think a little holistically and ask, who gives milk? People will say cow, buffalo. No, a mother gives milk. Isn't that right? A cow does not give milk all her life. That's not her purpose of being born on this planet. She gives milk only after she gives birth to a calf. So, whom is the milk, mother's milk for? This is how nature intended it to be, a mother giving milk to its baby, what it's supposed to be. But what we do, we are separating the calf from its mother, and what we are made to believe that the entire human species is dependent on calf, or I mean rather cows, for supplying our needs. Humans' most unnatural creation is probably drinking milk. We are the only mammals that drink milk as adults, and that too of another species altogether. The only ones who really need cow's milk are baby calves. And unless we look something like this, there is no need for us to have milk. Yet, India is number one producer and consumer of dairy, produces 24% of the world milk, and 33% of world's cattle is found in India. And if you look at the global emission species wise, cattle are the biggest culprits. And this, I told you, the cattle is being taxed. If this tax, of course, it will never happen. But if it happens in India, the tax itself would be worth 7 trillion rupees a year. That many cows we are, that is the global emission that is happening from cattle. If you compare dairy milk with other plant-based milk, dairy milk is the worst. You know why? Because it releases 3 times more emissions, 10 times more pollution. It uses 13 times more land and 22 times more water as compared to soy milk. So dairy, there is no need. So let us summarize this. The earth can endure without humans. Okay, but humans cannot survive without planet Earth. If we wish not to die yet, we must save the planet. We must choose the right diet. And we may keep debating which is the best diet for an individual. There is no debate on which diet is better for the planet, for our species, for our children, for our own survival. We have to shift to a plant-based diet. And United Nations has clearly stated that diet change is the single biggest way to reduce our impact on the environment, far bigger than cutting down our flights or buying an electric vehicle. I have been for more than 5 years on a plant-based diet. If you do the math, you will see that I have saved water that can feed more than 10,000 people for a year. I've saved grains more that can feed more than 200 people for a year. Forests the size of more than 20 tennis courts, and emissions equivalent to that of a car driven for 140,000 kilometers, besides saving multiple animal lives and probably adding some more months to my own life. This is the power of one. This is not about me. Every one of you out there has this power to make a change. We keep pointing fingers, at the government. We say, what are they doing? We point to other countries. China is doing this. No, we, each individual, have this power to make a change. Some may say, but is it safe to have only plants? What about proteins, calciums, vitamin D, B12? Well, the answer is a big yes. Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics has stated that these plant-based diets are nutritionally adequate, provide health benefits, are appropriate for all stages of the life cycle, and they are more environmentally sustainable, which we have established beyond doubt. And these were some of the personal benefits I myself got. Even my blood parameters are better and well controlled. I have been able to do things which previously I was not able to do. But forget about me. Let us ask the expert. If you look, the world's top sportsmen are also choosing plant-based diet. If they are able to perform at that level with that intensity, then why can't we do that? And this is nothing new. Since 1900s, people have been doing this. They have been winning Olympic golds on plant-based. In fact, for the Paris Olympics coming up, more than 60% of the food which will be provided will be plant-based for the athletes. World's top athletes eating more than 60% plant-based. Even bodybuilders can, have a plant-based diet. This is our own Dr. Ashwath, a vegan Indian bodybuilder. And there is a disclaimer. Okay, muscles are built in the gym, not in the kitchen. So don't think just by changing your diet, you will become strong. Efforts will have to be put no matter which diet you choose. But let not the diet be a restriction as to how much you can proceed. So what have we learned? Animal agriculture industry is a destructive industry. It extracts resources. It is unsustainable. It is unnecessary. It is detrimental to our health. And yet we are not willing to change. Why? That one reason why we are not changing is taste, nothing else. We no longer eat to live, we now live to eat. But are we also willing to die to eat? That is the question. Because beyond doubt, we are actually eating our way to extinction. But we don't have to. There are multiple tasty plant-based options. If taste is your thing, you will get it from plant-based also. You don't have to have animal foods for that. Although this may not be necessarily healthy for you, but it won't be worse than processed animal products either. So to conclude, what's it gonna be on your plate? Would it be animal foods or would you shift to plant-based foods? Because what we are not changing, we are actually choosing. So by choosing an animal-based food, then we are choosing beef industry, where 900,000 cows are slaughtered every day. This is a huge number. If you make a line of these cows, put them in a single line, that line will extend from Mumbai all the way to Kolkata. That many cows are being slaughtered every day. 130,000 goats slaughtered every hour. 160,000 pigs slaughtered every hour. 140,000 chickens slaughtered every minute. 100,000 fish killed every second. The egg industry, we feel eggs are harmless, but the male chicks have no role to play in the industry. 700,000 male chicks killed every hour. The male calves have no role similarly in the dairy industry. If you look at the male-female ratio, it is 1:3 for cows in India, and cows are protected in India. While for buffaloes, where there is no protection, 1:11. So for every female calf, you see 10 male calves have to be killed. And these are animals whom we connect with, we love. We don't have anything against this. But when it comes to our plate, the name changes and our mind forgets. Taste prevents us from seeing the pain of our fellow creatures. After all, what is the difference? There is no difference. Yet, we are taught that one has to be eaten, the other has to be petted. The only difference, my friends, is our perception. They are all live sentient beings just like us who can feel pain, who can feel love. We always have a choice. So would you rather hug them or hang them? Would you rather tickle them or torture them? Would you snuggle them or slaughter them? Would you kiss them or kill them? The only thing we need from animals today is their forgiveness. We have other food. They don't have another life. We have other food. We don't have another planet. So let us ask ourselves, does our heart agree with a diet that depends on so much cruelty? Does our mind agree with a diet that is causing our own extinction? We are what we eat. So let us eat the rainbow, not the more. Let us choose wisely, because our plate will decide our fate. So let us choose a diet that won't let us die yet. Thank you so much.